Welcome once again to this amazing course of product designing and design thinking. So this course actually is a must-have course to everyone who is trying to provide a solution, a product or a service in every sector, in agriculture sector or financial sector or health sector. You need to go under the processes of product designing in order to achieve the goals that you have and also to meet the needs and the problems your users, clients, or even customers are facing. So last time we talked about observing the target customer, and we talked about our point of view, and we are here to talk about the next step, which is ideate. So ideate means just thinking, coming up with ideas. So let's take a look further into what ideate is all about. So what is ideation? So ideation is just a process of gathering a broad set of ideas on a given topic with no attempt to judge or evaluate them. So this is a very important concept that you need to grab. In this case, you are not judging or evaluate the ideas that you have come up with. So in this case, maybe you are trying to solve a certain problem and you have actually gathered the needs of your customers, of your users. We have done research already in the previous steps, but now you are coming up with the ideas on how you can solve that problem, how you can meet the needs of your user. Now, in this case, you just need to give in to just come up with lots of ideas. You don't need to judge them. Some ideas, they can be silly and they don't have any sense. Bring them in, because in this session, we are going to talk about what various techniques and steps that you can use and to come up with good ideas by combining all those silly ideas and good ideas. Now, let us take a look on how to generate ideas. This is very important. This is very interesting because most companies in Malawi, they don't implement this technique. And we have seen that companies in developed countries, they are doing this every now and then. Now, we have this very interesting statement saying, without ideas, no new products. That's obvious, that's straightforward, that you can actually even guess about it. If you want to create a new product, you need to have ideas. Now, groundbreaking ideas don't always emerge during a brainstorming session. This is very important because you can actually appreciate that when maybe you are walking on the road, you are chilling with your friends or doing something else, that's when you can have good ideas. Now, let's see what the passage is saying creative companies give their employees more and more leeway to allow for this type of intrinsic inspiration to happen. So as I was saying, that developed countries give a certain space for companies in developed countries give a certain space for their employees to think about something. Now, we are talking about here that they give them leeway. So leeway is about space or a room that they can actually do this. And you can see, if you can check or research about Google Workspace or even Apple, you can see that at their headquarters, they have this spacious room. They can do yoga, they can do exercises, they can take nice breakfast, they can go to maybe to do meditation and stuff like that. They understand that this time, these people, they can have such kind of natural inspiration, and this natural inspiration, they can trigger inside of them to create new ideas. And that's very interesting. And we can now appreciate that even in Malawi, when we are taking a shower, we understand that in taking a shower, we can have these cool ideas that come into our head to implement them in our nation. But from there, you can see that your mind is blank. Why? Because that you are no longer in your dominated zone. You are no longer in your natural area that you can think of. But however, you cannot always be in this time, in this self space every time. Let's take on a real example that your boss is saying that what are the new ideas that you have implemented? You cannot answer right away. You cannot say that, wait for me, I need to take a shower. That's when I think of cool ideas. You don't actually do that in the real world. Now, in this case, we are trying to teach ourselves how we can actually generate these ideas. Now, let's go to brainstorming session. Now we want to come to have a session of brainstorming ideas. Now, there is also an important point that I want to actually emphasize on this one. Maybe you are running an organization, or you are the CEO of a certain company. There is a technique that you need to do. When you are conducting a meeting, make sure that you separate between the juniors or the interns and the people in higher position. This is very important because when brainstorming ideas, these people in lower position, they cannot actually implement the ideas with the fear of being criticized or fear of lowering themselves down. So make sure you separate these people. Make sure they are in different rooms, they are open up, because this is very important. And this is very important. You need to take that in mind, that if you want a person to give you ideas, cool ideas, make sure that you make them happy first. So make sure that they are in an atmosphere that they are free, they are happy. This is why we see that if you want to do a business, or talk to your stakeholder, to your investor, or to your fellow inmates, it's very important to take them out for a lunch or for a dinner. With that food that they are eating, they will be happy. They'll be happy to express themselves. And you see that they actually give in cool ideas. There is a certain technique that I've learned somewhere else, that if you want to kuti muntu woti alindi ngongole ulinaye ngongole apange extend period ya ngongole, first of all, before you start discussing about the date, make sure you give them food first. Once you do that, they will be open up, they will soften their constraints. They'll say, I think next week, Mugabe Sandrama, that's when you are going to give me this money. Now, that is a technique that you can also use in this case. When you are brainstorming, you have a team, because most of the times we are going to work in teams in the real world. So make sure you take your team out for lunch. You don't need to buy expensive food. Make sure you take them out for a lunch. Once they start eating, they will be happy, and they will express different ideas that you didn't even think of. Good our organization. So that is also a technique. And make sure that if you are in a company, you separate the big bosses and the trainees to express themselves. And later on, you can have a meeting and you can have a representative on both parties to express their ideas. In so doing, you have cooperation and you can have cool ideas. Now, on brainstorming, there are three things that you need to know. Creative confidence, quantity goes before quality, no criticism of ideas. Now, let us see what these things mean. Creative confidence, it means that we express all ideas that come into our heads, no matter how silly they might appear to be. So make sure that if you are solving a solution, make sure you think of great ideas, cool ideas, even silly ideas, put them on the table. And this in case, it means that maybe the next person can base another idea exactly on our silly contribution. So ideas, they can actually build up. So make sure that you actually give in many ideas as you actually want. And for this to work, I already said we need a relaxed atmosphere just described. Now, you can actually see that I've already explained how an atmosphere actually influence ideas. So that's why you can see companies, they can take people out for maybe to a resort or to the lake in order to discuss things, because they understand that people tend to express themselves when they are in their happy mood. Now, quantity goes before quality. I already emphasize that give in more ideas. This is very, very important. And because the point of this phase is to fill the heart with as many ideas as possible, and evaluation comes later. You don't actually restrict people with the ideas that they're thinking. And we resist the temptation of being satisfied with the first good idea. Don't say, I think idea in the abu, and you don't think of other ideas. Remember, this is a phase of ideation. Make sure that more ideas they come in, and maybe if an even better idea is only 5 minutes away in your brainstorming session. So make sure that you bring in those ideas together, no matter if a person gives in a cool idea. Now, last step, we say no criticism of ideas. Do not criticize your teammate. Do not criticize them. Once you criticize them, they will not think of other ideas in their mind. Never criticize them. So, as the point says, under no circumstances are ideas allowed to be criticized during this phase. So, evaluation of ideas takes place later in separate steps. So, make sure there is no criticism. Now, there is a technique that is used in coming up with the idea. Now, this technique is what you use in order to evaluate those ideas. So the technique is called substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to other uses, eliminate, rearrange. So we'll see what it means as we go along. Now, what is substitute? Substitute is, the idea is called the scamper technique, and you can actually appreciate that scamper is just an acronym for these words that I've put here: substitute, combine, adapt, modify, put to use, eliminate, and rearrange. So first of all, we are talking about substitute. What can be substituted? What can be used in its place? Who can be involved instead? Which process could be used instead? What other materials could be used instead? So you can see that we are substituting this idea with other ideas. So you are seeing that we are trying to analyze which competition are competing with this idea. So that's what you do in the first step. Next step, it's combined. So what does it mean? What can be combined? So what ideas can be combined with this? What can be mixed? How might certain parts be connected? Which purposes could be combined? So you understand that in this case, you are trying to analyze which areas can be mixed together in order to come up with the final solution. Now, adapt, which is very important. What other ideas can be suggested by it? Is there anything that is similar and can be applied to the existing problem? Have there been similar situations in the past? So you are familiarizing that solution with other things so that it can be implemented in the real world as easy as possible. Don't worry, we'll have an example at the end of this schema technique. Now, modify. Now, modify, you just focusing on what can be modifications on these ideas, what can be increased, what can be reduced, what can be modernized, can it be enlarged or downsized. Now you are modifying the idea. Now, other uses, which is very important, and you ask yourself these questions: for what other purposes could it be used in its present state? What purposes could it be used if it were modified? Now, in this case, you can see that I have seen a lot of companies that they are actually maybe creating a package for their products. They can actually reuse the package itself in order to do some other uses. So you actually put this in mind. Now we go to eliminate. So in eliminate, you are trying to eliminate other useless modifications, and in order to minimize other areas like cost and also usability. Now on rearrange, what we are trying to do is to rearrange the pattern that you ask yourself what other patterns would also work. So you are trying to do some little bit of further modifications and make sure that that product is well suited for the market. Now let's take a look at an example of scamper technique. Now on the left side, you are seeing that we do have the use case of our techniques starting from substitute to rearrange. So the example is the KitKat package. You can see that the original idea is it's on coming up with the original idea was the KitKat package that was used at the beginning. Now they are trying to improve through product design process. Now on a scamper technique, we are seeing that first of all we have substitute. Now on substitute is substitute chocolate flavor with milk. You can see that they do have these two different products. They have chocolate flavor and milk. So chocolate flavor is substituting this product that was at the beginning. Now on combine, they're trying to combine fruit and peanut flavor. So you can see that they did have a product called, I think it's peanut. They did have this product at by combining these fruit and peanut. Then they try to adapt it. Now they're adapting it to the market, and they are saying that they are putting it inside an ice cream, because this time around there was an increased demand in ice cream rather than KitKat. So they are trying to combine it to make it adapt in the market. Now they are modifying it and making it bigger, and you can see here they are modifying and magnify it, and you can actually see that inside the KitKat you can actually see that there is I don't know how to explain this, but zimakangati, like waffles or stuff like that. They are trying to make sure that it is modified it to meet the requirements here, so that people they don't have time to eat the KitKat. And they are putting it to another use, making it a drink. Now they are trying to make sure that they are actually making it as a drink, which is not actually good as well. So they are doing this a scamper technique in order to ideate the process and eliminate this part of putting it to another use as a drink and as a single bar. Now eliminating those things that they don't need and putting it as a single bar. On this case, they are trying to rearrange. After this elimination, they're trying to rearrange to cut in pieces to bite-sized delights. So they have put it in they have rearranged in the package and putting it in bite-sized delights, so that it is very suitable for other uses. And at the end of the day, you can see that we do have a big-sized KitKat here, a box that's that size that you buy at the grocery store. So this is how you can use scamper technique in order to come up with your ideas. Now, let us go further on how can we structure our ideas and select our ideas. So in this case, we do have steps that are required in order to come up with these ideas. Now, the first step in order to structure and select our ideas, remember, there are lots of ideas that we brainstorm, but we do need to structure them and select them and put them in a proper way. So I'll actually learn this as fast as possible because of time, but I'll give you reference in how you can structure and select the idea. So first of all, you match the question. So in this case, the needs and whatnot. So make sure you categorize the ideas according to the question that you have, maybe on what use cases, on whatnot, and you actually put you on step number 2, you put ideas on exciting. So in this case, what you're trying to do is to put the ideas depending on how good they are looking, on how crazy they are. And on number 3, you match the ideas on out of scope. So you make sure that you remove the ideas on out of on ideas that are not actually relevant and put them in their own category. On number 4, which is point number D, you actually put the ideas, structure the ideas depending on what they are doing today, what they will do tomorrow, and what they will do in the future. So you can see that we do have fuel and EV. We do have EV. That is an example of a car. Yesterday we are using fuel and EVs. Tomorrow we are going to have only electrical vehicles, and in the future we'll have autonomous vehicles. So we also have structured them ideas depending on the relationship between clients. So we have B2B, B2C, B2B, B2B to C. So that's how you can actually separate these ideas. And next, we also have another way of structuring the ideas. We use by incrementing and versus radical. So on this idea, you can see that there's a graph on product or service, on existence here, new for us, and new on the market, So you actually do, we call it customer segmentation. I talked about this, I think, on the previous levels, previous stages that we had. So we do have customer segmentation. So it depends on the clients that you have. Some other clients, you know that these clients, they require this product depending on their financial status. So you make sure that those ideas are arranged in that manner. Another step we do have is selection depending on speed of dissemination and implementability. So dissemination is about spread of information, and implementing the idea. So there's a matrix that we have this step 1 matrix, which is called speed of adaptation and speed of dissemination. So for example, we take a look on this matrix. We have quick and slow on this end, and also slow and quick. So if speed of dissemination is quick and the speed of adaptation is quick as well, right here, develop the idea further. That means people they can get to understand your idea. So stick around this. I'll share the PPT. And also we have financial feasibility on step number 2, and implementability. If you can implement the idea here, yes, and financial feasibility is yes, prototype yourself. So make sure that you take a look at these as well. And lastly, we have the final step, which is a criteria on important and urgent. If the idea is urgent and very important, so what you need to do, it's prioritized like high and later, or urgent here. If the urgent is high, you can check around this. If the urgency is high, as we go along here, and important is high, and now, so make sure that you check around this way of how you can structure and check your ideas. So lastly, we do have a way where we can communicate and also document our ideas. So there is this way how you can actually do this. There is a sheet that you need to come along with. We call it idea communication sheet. So make sure that if you are working maybe with or you are working on a product or a service, print out this format and come up with the answers on this sheet that you are working with. So first of all, we do have name. So make sure you put the name of the idea and you put the slogan of the idea here, right here. Then you, on the right side, you put the discovered and problem or need of your customer. So we have already done this. Make sure you write here. Then you sketch the idea. So on the sketching, we have already done this on this map, on whatnot. So make sure you sketch the idea and also have the solution that you want. And at the end, you have the benefit of the idea. So before we wrap up this, I just want to emphasize on something here, that it's very important when you are coming up with the solution, you also need to come up with the benefits of the idea. We call it if it then, if it this, then that. So make sure you have this kind of brainstorming session, that when you are coming up with a solution, make sure you are seeing that there is a benefit to your clients. What benefits can they achieve by this solution? And when we are also doing the scamper technique, we also said that put to other use section. We also said on that section we emphasize that what other uses can our client or user have by using our product. So make sure you also have that in mind, and that is also a benefit which also needs to be implemented. And I recently saw a certain application that is introduced in Malawi right now that is used to detect thieves and whatnot. People actually asked the question saying, what if the thief have stolen your phone? How can you do that? How can you actually implement that? How can you actually, I would say, how can you actually report theft if a user has stolen your phone? How can you do that? Those are the questions that you actually need to brainstorm and to use them in this case. And you can see in that use case, you can appreciate that in Malawi we don't actually product design when we are coming up with solutions. That's why our solutions that are local here in Malawi, they don't go anywhere. They die on the way because we are fast in implementing. We have the knowledge on digital skills, but we don't actually do product design. And before I close, there is also another use case that I want to share. There's this airline in America. I forgot the name, but they use a cheap ticketing system of booking maybe flights. Now, they had this other problem. I think in 1980 something, they had this deal. So their airlines are very cheap. So they had this deal whereby they were providing cheaper air flights. They are providing cheaper tickets to their customers. But however, Agalemba ticket, now they were using cheap ticketing system. It was papers. Now, Agalemba ticket, most people, they were throwing the ticket away. Agabita to the airport. Amabeza with the security system, the security guys are saying, no, we need to see your ticket. Now they were saying, it's just a ticket. Mr. Monandigamu system. So they were having tough time to see their record. Now, the board meeting, the board members, they started brainstorming. To good system, technology, $2 million. Now the owner said something. So no, you are not taking my money to buy that expensive ticketing system. What you need to do is when you print out that ticket, mulembe pamwamba pa ticket bold letters, bold red letters that this is a ticket. Do not throw it away. And up to now, they have saved $2 million to buy that system. Why? Because of brainstorming ideas and coming up with new ideas. And right now, people don't throw that ticket away because there is a warning word which is in red bold letters that they see on that ticket. So anyway, this is the end of this section today on ideation, coming up with solution. And I'm excited to see that you are implementing these skills in your product. So it doesn't need to be fancy products. You can have shoe making products or even baking cakes under that.